All right, hello, this is Dr. Ryan Daniel.
And this is Xavier Reed.
And we are your Center for Diversity Fellows, excited to come and record another podcast. So Xavier, how is your summer going?
My summer's going well, I think it's always a good time for me to just reflect, sit back, but also spend a lot of time with my family. I was fortunate to be able to go back to what I consider one of my second homes, which is Anchorage, Alaska. That's where that's where my parents grew up. So my dad was born and raised there. My mom moved there from Compton, California when she was 8. And so we went back for the first time in almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And spent about a week up there. So it was a good trip.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything like that this summer yet, but traveling is something that is what I'm looking forward to the most. The last couple of weeks of the summer, I have some trips planned. So as you're doing your summer planning, what's two like big rocks for you right now?
For me, I'm really focused on the synergy on our team, in our office team. I consider our leadership team in our building, and then just being able to continue to move and shift the culture in my building. So this will be this upcoming school year will be my 4th year in the building, and so in year 4, what are some steps that we can take, and I think a learning from the first 3 years is we're not gonna overhaul. It's not gonna be so what's within reach that we can do, and then go forward with that.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think the synergy is something that I am focusing on. I moved a lot of people in different grades and so in new positions, and then some people left.
Yeah.
So some new people are coming in. So I think that is one of the things that I'm really trying to be intentional to prepare on, like how I'm going to kind of create. First, I'm trying to manifest it, but really create and continue some of that synergy, but culture as well. I think I heard something today at the conference, and just making sure that even when the leader, me, I'm not there, like the culture is still the same, And I think that as we are getting ready for this upcoming school year, and you and I have talked about it a lot too, but like how do we kind of create community and build community like in our school cultures, in your students and your staff, in your community. I know that I'm preparing for our back to school block party.
Yeah.
And in our back to school block party, I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional than I've ever been before, of like the types of vendors that come, like, the type of music that I'm playing, if I should have a vaccination truck there, because, we have some students that may need the immunizations. They don't have the opportunity to go to a hospital. So I'm kind of trying to be very intentional this year. Asked me about 5 years ago, we were just going to have a block party just to celebrate the beginning of the school year. But now it's like, okay, what's the purpose of the block party? How am I building community? How am I, really trying to bridge everyone together? How do you start your school year off?
Yeah, very similar. I like where you're going with the idea of bringing in some different resources and kind of making it more of a community like event, and being able to tap into that. But we do something very similar where we have food trucks, we got music, really trying to make, I think that those early opportunities with families and with, with students and our teachers and our staff, it's just an opportunity to build to like lay that foundation for that relationship that's going to be built over the course of the school year. And so I really, try to get us to not be in positions and to not to be talking about academics too much, and just more about who we are, who in learning about the adult or the student that's across from you, and being able to do that. But very similar. I like the idea of the resources though too.
Yeah. So today we have the opportunity. I know you all love hearing Xavier and I's voice, but we decided for our last podcast together that we would invite some principals to it. So we'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of get started with talking about how do we build community, bring in community and cultures and like all stakeholders together. So first up, who wants to go first? Rock, paper, scissors. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Harold McCray, the founding principal of MacArthur High School in Washington, D.C. Excited to be here.
Welcome, Harold.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. I'm Dr. Quennel Cooper, principal at Prairie Elementary in Eaton, Prairie, Minnesota. And I'm definitely excited to be here with you all.
I'm excited. Well, hold on, wait a minute. Let me honor because the whole conference is like around United and pre-K through 12. And I think we cover it all right here, right? We got elementary, we have middle, we have high school, all in the building.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great segue into just like what community kind of looks like in all of it. Because I'm sure at the high school level, your block party is probably looking a little bit different than my block party at the elementary level. So how do you all really just kind of create that culture and community like from the beginning? And I know, Harold, you opened a new school, right? So like I'm very interested because we're on two different sides of the world, and you know, kind of what that community and community building looks like may be different from elementary and a high school. So share with us, like, what does that look like?
Well, for us at our school, one of the things you said, Dr. Daniel, was about being intentional. So one of the things that I'm doing at my school this year is a lot of times we ask for the community to come into our schools. This year, we're going out. So right at the very beginning of the school year, we're going out to the communities. We're going out to the apartments, the complexes, and we're meeting the students. We're meeting the families. You got to have food, though.
Yeah,
you got to have food. Food, games, and we have a mobile express bus that comes around and it does, you know, different things in there, like from tutoring to helping with kids, books, and all those different things. So we're getting out. And you think about that climate and culture, it's so important because the climate is like the temperature. It can change from day to day, but it's about that culture. It's about what you do every day, your habits. So those are the things that I really want to create in our school, is that we want to get out. Instead of always asking our families to come in, we're getting out, meeting with them, and having our cookout in their community.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that you guys are going out to them. You're going to, you know, meet the customer where they're at, and being able to connect, you know, be the initiator at that.
Right. And I think it helps like teachers kind of see where their students are coming from. I remember I did like a scavenger hunt with my staff and I sent them out into the community and they didn't even realize all of the resources that they had just 5-10 minutes away from our school. So I love that idea of like bringing school to them, like because they're the community.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about our communities and our families, but it's one thing to hear, but we got to experience.
Yeah.
We need to go where they are and not listen to different things that can come up or stereotypes about our communities. We've got to get there and reach our community.
Yeah. All right, Harold. Now in the high school, and then you opened a new school, founding principal. Like, what was that work like?
Oh, it was busy. I think the number one thing that worked best for us though was communication. One of the things that the district did a really good job was collecting data from those parents who were coming in, those students who were coming in to try to see what it is that you like. Because one of the things at MacArthur that we're still currently doing is building our identity. Right now, we only currently have 9th and 10th graders. This upcoming year, we'll have 9, 10, and 11th. And so for us, it was about hosting events that was catering to their needs and what their interests were. Because again, we can't say like the next high school and what they do because we're a brand new school bringing kids in from across the entire city. So that's going to look a little different. Yeah. So like, you know, hosting car washes, the cleanup days and not just the barbecues, but those too, but just making sure that there's time for us to build like a community. And so like learning about our parents, doing things at our local universities because we're in between Georgetown and GW. So we're like, okay, utilizing those spaces. And so I think one of the greatest elements of opening that brand new school was that the students were brand new, the staff was brand new, the community was new. So everybody had to get to learn each other. So, you know, like it was a great thing to see the kids like interacting with the staff outside of the classroom. And so like, you know, games and, you know, the whole getting to know you, build you system. And so it was a really, really lot of work, but it was phenomenal work to help us build that identity that we're trying to find.
One of the important things I think about when I think about high school is that school pride, you know, that comes out because there's, you know, the sports and the different events. And, you know, I did 1 year at a high school, but it was the COVID year. And so there was no sports really happening. There was no homecoming dance. I think we did end up having a prom, but it wasn't quite the same. So when you're opening a new school, you're trying to establish that identity. Like what are some school, like some community specific things that you felt like after last year is kind of starting to develop for your building?
So one of the things I know first and foremost is like lifting their voices up. So like instead of us deciding what it is that we were going to plan for them, we allowed them to actually plan homecoming. We allowed them to plan the Spirit Weeks. One of the things that really went well is our student resource fair. That's like now is definitely a staple at our school. Then there was the what was it? I can't remember. The community came in. I was going to draw on the blank. I'm so sorry. But it was an event where the community came in and we hosted our parents. And I know we had the speaker series. It was a speaker series, excuse me, because we are a STEM school as well. And so we have engineering, and then we also have computer science and maintenance as well. And so having those individuals come in. And so for us, it is a community feel because it's not just our students. We also invite our community members and our families as well, because we wanted to make sure that everybody felt a part of MacArthur and it wasn't just like one single thing for the kids.
Identity. I think that is the word. We were connecting right there, right? Like identity. Because I think oftentimes when we get into the place of like trying to build culture, trying to build community, it's like finding the identity. Which identity do we lead with? How do we communicate what we want to be seen as? How do other people kind of see our school? I think of mine. So I've had the opportunity to serve 2 schools in 2 different ends of our school district. And in my current school, I'm entering year 4, the demographics have changed, right? Tremendously. So a lot of times when I tell people where I'm located, they're like, oh, you have like a very affluent population. I'm like, maybe about 5 years ago. But like our identity and like what our demographics are has shifted, but who we are, like, and what we believe in has not changed. So when you think about like your school's identity, I want you to describe your school's identity in 3 words. 3 words. You gotta be concise. Everybody, this is a challenge for us all. And y'all gonna go first because I'm gonna think about mine. But 3 words. How would you describe your school's like identity?
Inspiring student agency.
Oof, I did that.
Let me break that down for you. So we was talking a lot about community, and when you go into the community, if you notice, families and kids are themselves. You be like, I didn't know you could sing. I didn't know you could dance, and how they are showing all their gifts and talents. Then a lot of times they come into the community school, they feel they have to strip down who they are. So one of the biggest things in my school is we do a cultural week. And I want that to not only expand to a week, but it need to be every day. And that's what my passion is that when kids come into school, they wear, like, we have a very diverse school. Wear your cultural attire. We have families come in, community come in to celebrate all cultures. They come in and talk about their cultures. They're so proud.
And not just 1 week, right? Not just
we do
week, a month. You know how we do that,
right?
We celebrate something for a week and for a month.
But like I said, we do it all the time. I want kids to come in and talk about who they are. And so when I go to student agency, it's about student voice. So students take a really big part in the school. So even as you come into school, you see flags representing all the demographics of the schools, of all the students in the school. Students taking leadership in roles, being, whether it's raising money for Feed My Starving Children, to leading on the bus about if they see a problem, but that student voice, and that's taking that their skills and the gifts that they have and just expounding on it. So they have responsibility in that school too. So it's like you got to come in and you got a fitness box. I always tell kids, you can do anything you put your mind to and do that. So inspiring student agency.
I like that. Tough act to follow.
All right, let me take a stab at this. I say diverse, authentic leaders. And the reason why is our school is very diverse. It's about 55% African-American, 22% white, 15% Hispanic. And then we have a small international population as well. And so what I really like about it is it's really cool to see the diverse perspectives and backgrounds that come in. And so like when we're doing not just a celebration and acknowledgement, but we're really learning about each other's cultures. And I was very intentional in ensuring that the staff reflected what the student body looked like as well. So that was important. For the authentic piece, if anybody's ever been in a high school, in any school, kids are very honest at times, and they just say what they feel. And when something's not going right, and but I love that authenticity that they carry, because it helps us make decisions that cater to what their needs actually are. And the leadership part just comes, it follows with our motto, which is believe, belong, become. Do the students have the belief that they can be anything that they would like to be? And do we as staff members have the belief that they can be those things? Belonging, just making sure that everybody feels welcome. There's a sense of community within the building. And then becoming, if we did all of this work, because at our high school we only offer pre-AP, AP and honors courses, so it doesn't matter what your background is, what your disability is, everybody has the opportunity and they have access to that. And so we did all of this, preparing you to be global leaders in society. Did you become something? And so to sum it up, diverse, authentic leaders.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. All right,
I know.
it's my turn. All right. I would say community, growth, and choice. So community is something that when I took over 3 years ago, I knew that community was going to be important because this was going to be the first school year out of the pandemic, full-time in person. We gotta heal that community in that way, because students were, in a lot of different spaces. Staff was in a lot of different spaces. There was a lot going on. And so community has been one of the most important things that we've focused on. That's community building. Like when we talk about restorative practices, we started to implement that 3 years ago, but we didn't jump to trying to, solve harm. We wanted to establish community, and that's something that you constantly have to do. And, there's always the conversations that it's not just the beginning of the school year thing. It's every day, it's every week, it's every month. We gotta continue to do that. And so, I would say, even if you brought one of my staff members in here and they asked for maybe one word, it would be community. That, as far as my leadership and just what's been important for our school. And so we've really rallied around that. Growth for our story is important. Our school, when it first opened 25 years ago, we were about 750 students. We're almost 1,600 students at this point. And so that's been a big part of our story, is that we've had to navigate, just our size, within our building. I would say the other piece of it is the demographics just changed drastically. We are roughly about 47, 48 students of color when you put the different groups together. And then the other 50, 51, 52% is white students in a very affluent area. But we also are starting to have a lot more poverty show up, a lot more, real life situations that are showing up for our students that are different from what the norm has been. And so the growth has been a part of our story as well. And then choice. We talk about choice. We talk about choice all the time. And I say us as an educator is about reading choices or choice within the classroom. But is it truly choice when you only have 4 books to choose from? That's not, and then the 3 books that you wanted to choose from are all gone. So then you're stuck with that 4th book, and that's your choice. And so we've really talked about what's true choice for our students and how they can engage in that.
Oof. Okay, you all have made it very difficult. I probably should have went first, but I think that the 3 words that I would use to describe our community or our identity is inclusive, innovative, and relationships. I was going to go with community, but I'm going to start with relationships. Something that's really important to me is that every student has like a person in our building. And it doesn't necessarily have to be their teacher, like that somebody notices when they are walking a little bit slower. They're a little bit sad when they walk in. And, you see that part of relationship building from me, from my secretaries, from my building supervisor. And I think that truly describes our identity, and it wasn't something that was always there. When I got there 4 years ago, it was definitely something that I had to model. But I first modeled it just by building relationships with my staff, like getting to know them, like who are you, like who is at home that loves you, right? And so like that relationship piece is really important. And I think that truly defines like our identity. We are very innovative. I am completely a color outside of the lines type of leader. And I think what that has done is just trickled down to my staff, to my students. And so they're always just kind of asking like, well, how can we make it better? Like, what can we do differently? And not just my teachers, but, my students as well. And then inclusive. I think that because of the demographics that have changed, because we have a very prideful community. We have students that their grandparents have gone to our school, their parents, because in that area, they don't leave, right? And the grandparents, they just let the children and the grandchildren use their addresses. Sometimes I'm already hip to it, but like that is a community that is just very proud to be a part of the school, to be, to come from that area. And so, but our demographics have changed and the community has changed. And so what has been really important for us is just making sure that we are including everyone's voice in the conversation, making sure that everyone has a seat at the table, making sure that, everyone understands the direction that we're going. So when you come into our school, like there's a mural that has hello in so many different languages. I'm so glad that you're here. There is, murals of students of all colors, right? All languages. Our students take Latin and Italian at our school. So like those are things that are I think really describe us and who we are. So as we're wrapping up, a lot of times principals during the summertime, as they're getting ready for the school year, they're kind of stuck in the like, how do I prioritize like community and relationship building and bridging cultures together when I have test scores and, mandates and politics, and now I have a new supervisor, there's a new superintendent. So how do you all really kind of prioritize and make that community building the main thing? Because as you all both said, like, isn't something that you can just do one time and put it on the shelf. Like, it is definitely something you definitely have to kind of continue to go to. So how do you all prioritize that for the beginning of the school year?
Well, I think it's the main thing. Before you bloom, you have to mass low, and kids and community have to feel safe in your area. I definitely feel that that's the main thing that you have to do. You have to build that community, and I feel the three most important things is relationships. Before you can get to that point of having that learning, you're talking about test scores, people got to feel welcome in your place, in the building. They got to feel safe that, yes, this is where you belong at, and getting everyone on board and understanding that. So you just have to do it. And that's why I say kicking off the school year, we're getting into the community. Yeah. You're having those back to school nights, but you just can't leave it at that point. You have to continue those things throughout the year, continue to hear student voices, bring those families in, and continue to get out to families. You just have to make it a priority. So those are the things that, as I'm gearing up for this school year and excited about and getting out into the community, I'm just super pumped, and that's going to be the main thing.
I think for us, MacArthur, it is the priority. It's very intentional throughout, especially in the summertime. And so what I've done is that we've had our leadership retreat. We started part one last week back at home in DC, and then we're bringing the second part here in Nashville. I thought it was important to bring the entire leadership team here so they can experience this as well. Then we take that back and we trickle it down to our students. And so we have Summer Bridge coming up, and Summer Bridge is not just about academics, but it's about a time for us to community build with our students and our families. And then we're going to have our open house back to school cookout as well, to spend some more time together. But I think for us, it's intentional. It's written in our plan. And so we call it Connected to Schools. And so what are the intentional things that we're doing throughout the year to make sure that we stay connected to families and students and staff as well? Because we always talk about the whole child, but we also got to talk about the whole adult as well. Mm-hmm. So that's important. So it's just not, those one-time hit or misses, but, you make sure that you dig into it and you evaluate and see, was this really successful? Was this really meaningful? And sometimes it's a conversation that really changes the day. It's a thank you, it's a hello, it's a high five, it's a hug. So just being real intentional about the work that we're doing. So we always put that at the front.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm not sharing, but I think I got some information from you all. I love how you, Harold, talked about including it in like your plan. Like there is how are we going to continue to stay connected to our community, like throughout the school year, making it intentional and kind of putting it out there for everybody. I think sometimes we get it as the leader, but like, how do you make everyone
Right.
else see that, like you said, it's
Yep.
the main thing. Like
Mhm.
this is really important.
Yeah. And I think from both of you, I heard the word intentionality,
Mhm.
come up. And so, that's got me reflecting. Just intentionality is important. We might have, the best interest to do something, but if we're not intentional about it, it's probably not going to happen. And so, as I'm reflecting right now, I'm just thinking about the intentionality that our team needs to have. Something I'm really looking forward to this year that we haven't done before is the first day of school is only going to be our 6th grade students in the building. And so we get a chance for our teachers, for us, for everybody to spend the whole day with our 6th graders. Nobody else is in the building. And so I think we're going to be able to do a lot of good things to build onto that. That's just one day. We got to be able to duplicate that when we have the 7th and 8th graders. We have more on our plates and be able to find ways as well. But, being able to do some things like that, being able to build on some of the good things that we did last year with in terms of building community, building relationships, finding strategies that works. Now we found some things that work. How do we build on that now? And how do we, separate ourselves from things that maybe haven't worked, but we're comfortable with it because we've used it for years. So that's the work. And that's kind of what, how we'll be approaching it.
So thank you all so much for joining us. I mean, we think it's so important to have like other leaders sit at the table with us to kind of share best practices and strategies that you all, are implementing, because there's somebody around the world that is going to listen to this and like, I never thought about that. Like, I love that idea. So thank you. I know for me, I gained some things to add to my leadership tool belt that I'm definitely using this school year. Xavier, as we go our final goodbye, it has been great doing this work. And leaders, we hope that you were able to gain something from this podcast today. Again, go ahead and share one encouraging thing that you want to give to principals as they start another school year.
Let this be the year of distributive leadership. Let this be the year of distributive leadership.
I like that.
What you got?
Oh, that's tough to follow. I like that. I like that. One thing is just take it one moment, 1 second, 1 day at a time. Just continue to push forward. That's it.
Well, this is Dr. Ryan Daniel.
And this is Xavier Reed.
Signing off.